Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerry Sansing, and this is another edition of What's Going On in Corpus Christi. I wanted to share some real pretty roses with you. I think that's a little bit better than watching me, but anyway, who knows. Let me just start by saying that with my activities around town with different political entities, city, county, and Del Mar, CCISD, and so forth, then I think a friend of mine, former friend, Dr. Sunshine, indicated that I made people very uncomfortable and fearful. And I really don't, think that I really deserve that reputation, but I'm beginning to wonder here lately, because the things I have to do and say in order to get elected officials to do the right thing, or certain administrations, aka Del Mar College, is just really pretty sad. Okay, so I guess if that's the reputation, then I guess I've earned it. I haven't been trying to, but anyway, let me inform you of what's been going on. Now, I've had some shows on lately where I showed the wildlife over there. I'll call it the wild plants at Del Mar College, and you taxpayers out there have been paying about $13,000 to $14,000 per month for yard keeping, and they haven't been doing a real good job. So for two shows, not only this one but my South Texas News and Reviews, I have preached and I've filmed and so forth over there to see low-flying branches, low-hanging branches that put people's eyes out or have that potential. Big, huge palm fronds almost touching the ground on at least 2 or 3 sidewalks. And finally, after that, I think it was yesterday, then what happened on that day, today is the 16th, the 15th of September, and they finally cut them down, okay? And it looks pretty good over there for a change. So I don't know what it takes at times to get people jump-started to do the right thing, but you taxpayers really, I think if you're as fed up with it as I am, why don't you take a look at how much trouble it is just to go to the polls and vote some of these people out and get some people in that care for a change and are paying attention. And I know it's pretty sad at Del Mar College, and I'm going to talk about that in just a couple of seconds. Okay? So maybe you were right, Dr. Sunshine. I don't know. I guess one day I'll find out. Now, what we have going on at Del Mar College are several issues. I have a person who is a good friend of mine, Ed Bennett, who earned a BBA degree years ago. He also took a master's degree in accountancy, which is not an MBA, okay? It was strictly in accounting. And he went and took his CPA test very shortly after that, and he passed it, no problem. And he's been in the certified public accountant for about 30 years, as far as I can tell. Maybe it's a little more, it can't be any less. Now, I, back in August of 2013, requested some information that sounded a little funny to me on write-offs of a great deal of money from that Del Mar College wrote off with people that owed him money. And since then, we have been very, very enlightened. Now, another thing that we've done is we've taken a look at the amount of surplus money that has been occurring in the last 11 years in particular. And we have proven with Del Mar College's own financial statements and their own audited financial statements and so forth that those surpluses were a real thing. Now, what amazed me a week ago on a Tuesday in a Del Mar College Board of Regents meeting was the Chief Financial Officer at Del Mar College, Dr. Lee Sloan, had earned at Clemson University, I don't know how long ago it was, but at Clemson University, South Carolina, a Doctor of Education degree. It's an EDD, okay? Now, they've got these doctors of education degrees and a lot of those programs are excellent. I don't know what the one was like, the reputation at Clemson when Dr. Sloan went through it, but his major is agricultural education, okay? And he's been in the education business most of his life, and then he came to Del Mar, I would say probably 20 years ago, with a tech prep program, and then he was tapped for dean of the Allied, or what do they call it, the VOTEC out there, and so forth. Then they dissolved the division of business and so forth, and he inherited that. He had an awful lot of people working for him at Del Mar College in different capacities, from underwater basket weaving to rocket science and so forth and so on, which has now dwindled away. But he was promoted by Dr. Mark Escamilla, our current president, and promoted to the chief financial officer. Now, I don't know, and I've seen his published transcripts and resume and so forth, more so the resume, but I can't determine on any of that he's ever had a basic class in accounting. Yet he is the chief financial officer. Now, after Mr. Bennett and I had uncovered an awful lot of questionable items, and we've been very vocal about that, then this past Tuesday, a week ago today, on the 8th of September, Dr. Sloan got up at the meeting on one of the agenda items, and he indicated that Mr. Bennett and I had been lying about an amassing of surplus amount of money of $73 million over an 11-year period of time. And then he started talking in circles, and he completely lost Mr. Bennett in this circular explanation of what was going on. Okay. Now, also the concept of contracts came up. They've got $157 million that you people out there voted for to upgrade our East Campus and our West Campus, and $1.8 million of that, I think it is going into that what I consider to be a total boondoggle of 95 acres of swampland at Yorktown and Rodfield Road, where they want to build a complete new Del Mar College campus. And they say we're bursting at the seams. Well, folks, we're not bursting at the seams. We have had a 18, 15 student decline in the last 3 or 4 years. So how can you be bursting at the seams when you didn't have a problem before that? Now, another problem we have is a lot of our students that count now, that they're counting as full-time students and so forth, or getting, say they are part of that student load, are a bunch of dual credit students that they're building up with the different schools around the area. Okay? Now, if you start counting those and you start looking at the full-time on-campus students, it's my understanding that the count is about 3,000 or less students that are full-time students at Del Mar College. The rest of them are part-timers or dual credit. So how can we justify purchasing at almost $7 million 95 acres out there that's usually, it's very soggy, and they have trimmed the brush these days. I must give them credit for that, but I think that was after I went out and filmed it with the toilet paper and the brush out there at the corner. And, maybe code enforcement, the grass Gestapo as I call it, went over and had a little talk with them. But the place is an absolute mess, okay, from a financial point of view as far as I can tell. But what I resent is you have administrators at Del Mar College that will get up in a public meeting, one of the board meetings, and start saying that there was no surplus money over there and that it's all convoluted, and they start talking circles and try to disparage a man who has a BBA, master's degree in accountancy, CPA, and at least 30 years experience as a full-time very fine accountant. And he's not supposed to be able to look at this and tell what's going on when you've got a CFO the past couple of years that has had no accounting courses at all. Okay? So I'm a little bit disturbed with that, just to say the least. So what we're going to do is, let me just give you a little bit of insight on this. It says the following schedules are published in Del Mar College's award-winning comprehensive annual financial reports. Now, the award-winning means that they pay this company to issue awards, okay? So, yeah, if you pay the money, then you're going to get awarded some special deal from this place, okay? I've looked them up, and I don't know that it's legitimate at all, okay? It's like a lot of things in life. They're just not totally on the up and up. Okay, now, here's the statements. Not for profit and government accounting both utilize terms that are normally less familiar to readers of financial statements than the terms many of us accustomed to seeing in annual financial reports of publicly traded corporations. I have inserted and read terms that are designed to make the financial information more understandable to the average reader. Okay? So he's taken, this is Mr. Bennett. Now what he's done is he has taken the records right offline from Del Mar College. Okay? These statistical supplement 19 continued changes in net position fiscal years 2005 to 2014. And it says from Del Mar's CAFR. And I've heard that term for the life of me. I'm not an accountant. I'm trying to learn real fast. But that CAFR, as they refer to it over there, I'm not real sure what that means. But these are the official records. And in red and yellow, he has indicated some of the flaws in the circular reasoning that Dr. Sloan used at the board meeting on September the 8th. Now I think that I have ordered a copy, a DVD copy of that public meeting, and then I'm going to play it back and then really see if I can figure out the same thing that Mr. Bennett's figured out, that circular reasoning is just a way to try to put up the smoke and mirrors. Okay? Now that's my assessment of this. And I know Del Mar is salivating over there trying to get rid of me, and you know, I'm not going to go quietly. There are a lot of other things that can happen. Okay? So the bottom line, I think, of all of this is I'm a faculty member. I came in the fall of 1989. I retired from industrial research, essentially. I wanted to see my kids more than once a month in the daylight. You don't get to see that in industrial research. You live in the laboratories for weeks on end, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's tough on families. Okay? So I came here in '89. Now, back, and here, I'll just read this. Now here's what sticks in everybody's craw over there, and they wonder why faculty members like me get a little bit upset when this stuff is uncovered. And then they try to blow it off and say that, you know, Sansing and Bennett are a bunch of liars. Okay? All right, it says no raises for professors. The professors were told by administration from the period of 2008 through 2014 that no money existed for raises. The 2% raise in fiscal 2015 was the first for the professors since 2008. Okay? The attached schedules from Del Mar's CAFR clearly indicate that during the period that the college's administration was explaining to the professors that no money existed for raises, tens of millions of dollars were in the college's bank accounts, with tens of millions of dollars of revenue was being collected in excess of the operating expenses of the college. So you taxpayers are putting in money that is not needed by Del Mar College, okay, and can't be used for raises and stuff after that surplus is logged in the next year, and you're duping us, folks. Okay, and what a college needs to do, any publicly supported institution, at the end of the year, then what you need to be doing is to zeroing out the income versus the expenses. You're not supposed to be hoarding a bunch of money and overtaxing essentially the taxpayers. And my Taxpayers Association, folks, I am the president of the Corpus Christi Taxpayers Association, and we've got a bunch of some red-hot people out there that are starting to question Del Mar College Annex and the city and CCISD. I've understood lately that there's some problems over there. And I guess since I'm one that makes people uncomfortable and fearful, then a lot of people come to me and say, you know, you don't mind speaking up, and you know, here's the information, and I take off and fly with it. Okay? Now, I don't know that it's not an intentional method of disturbing people, folks. I'm a taxpayer, and I'd rather have that money myself. And that's just like I have preached on my show, the South Texas News and Reviews, and on this show, that when I was duped out of $10 a month for a parking spot that was supposed to have a gated entrance to it, and the gate broke down in January, and now the Vice President of Finance and so forth will not address me directly when I ask questions about that, because I asked the questions on the email system at Del Mar instead of going over there and bowing down to him, and he doesn't want to see me anyway. I mean, there's been a long history of a little bit of animus between the two of us. Okay. So, you know, the whole thing just makes me ill. But why they're going to take, you know, my $50 or $60, that gate was down for at least 6, 7, 8 months, and they said that they weren't going to pay us back. That was just too bad. We didn't have to suffer, because we could get in there and usually find a parking spot anyway. That's not the problem, folks. You know, the service was that I had a gated parking lot, and we didn't have a bunch of students in there bumping their doors up against our cars and people we don't know about that are in there. And you know, I mean, if you want to reach in my pocket and pull out that $50, $60, $70, then I guess there's not a whole lot I can do. It ain't worth a lawsuit. Okay? But I don't mind talking about it. Okay. Then today, on the 15th, I watched the City Council meeting, and I saw several people speak at the public comments section. They finally have at least a published time. That's better than Del Mar College Board does. They say, well, we'll do it when we get around to it. And one of the members told a couple of taxpayers and citizens that he didn't think that they need to have it up front of the meeting and start the meeting off on a sour note with complaints from the taxpayers. You know, who are these taxpayers that elected you, Sir Boggs, okay, in the first place to take care of my money and take care of Del Mar College's reputation and so forth, and hear you say that you don't want to hear from the people that put you there? I mean, that's exactly what you said. I know of 3 or 4 people that heard you say it. Okay? And if I heard you say it, I would have given you a piece of my mind right there on the spot. That's ludicrous, sir. Okay? That is not being a prudent and person whatsoever, and it shows a total lack of integrity. Okay. Now, then I heard several other people. Now, one of them was my vice president of the Corpus Christi Taxpayers Association, Mr. Jack Gordy. Now, Mr. Gordy has for a long time been indicating to the city that the city is totally out of compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act by having palm trees growing out of the sidewalks over at the Gulf Breeze Shopping Center at SPID and Airline. Okay? And they are completely out of compliance if you read the rules and regulations and the clearances and so forth. Now, he's brought that up many times lately, and he was told by Mr. Risley, I think, or Risley, something like that, our city attorney now, that the city had a waiver from the Justice Department, which controls ADA compliance, and they didn't have to do that. Now, Mr. Gordy has gone to Department of Justice, and now, as we currently speak, then there is going to be a hearing, okay, what do they call that, resolution hearing and so forth, and what the city's going to do is, like the city manager today, Mr. Ron Olson, said, they were not out of compliance, and they're going to go into this mediation is what they're going to do with Mr. Gordy, and the city council members are the ones that the Justice Department said they're going to be there, not the city attorney and not the city manager. So we'll see what happens. But to have the city manager say, well, we're not going to discuss this, and we're going to have a folder to give you during the break here, which will explain the full history of that palm trees sitting out there on the sidewalks. And he stated very bluntly that they were in compliance with all ADA rules. Now, why would the Justice Department, when they found out about those things, be concerned enough to open up that mediation down here with Mr. Gordy against the city? I mean, can you explain that to me, Mr. Olson? You know, and it's always the smoke and mirrors. I mean, the city is probably equal to, in that endeavor, with Del Mar College. And then I know CCISD is coming along pretty well with some of their shenanigans over there, since Mr. Scott Eliff has left as the superintendent. Okay, so I'll saddle that horse at a different time. I'm getting the information I need to expose that little debacle over there at CCISD. I'm just trying to whet your appetite, folks. Come back and see me. Okay? I may make you uncomfortable and fearful before it's over with. All right. That one, I shouldn't say a word about that. Pardon me, sunshine. Okay. All right, now, another one that's upset is Susie Luna Saldana. She spoke today about a letter to the editor that came out today on the 15th of September, okay, in the Caller Times, and it was from Modesto Canales. Unforgiving water department. Do you remember when the water department was a kind, almost benevolent entity? Question mark. I do. Many times when I was short on my bill, they would grant me an extension to pay it. Okay? And the workers who made the arrangements in the back office were even kind when they spoke to you. Well, not anymore. Okay? Now, perhaps due to their past benevolence, those days are gone. If your bill is not paid by the due date, you get a pink bill. Okay? If that pink bill is not paid by its due date, you might get a one-day warning on your doorknob. Or maybe not. Of course, if you pay late, they tack on an extra $50. And then he's got $50 again, exclamation point. In the past, you'd get that penalty because your water was disconnected and they had not had to reconnect. Now, just for paying late, okay, they just want to make up their budget deficits however they can, okay? And at your expense. I sure miss those good old days. Then with this, when the meeting opened, I was here at the house. I watched it on TV. I thought I was going to have to go elsewhere, so I didn't attend personally down there. But the people from the water division were talking about biofilms having to be scrubbed out of the pipes, and not using the chlorine in one form or another with nitrogen in it. They're going to go back to straight chlorine. And then they talked about just flushing the lines out like a power washer, and went round and round and round. But here we are spending a ton of money, okay, buying bottled water and having to boil water and being worried about whether they can cut the mustard down there and get the chlorine levels up high enough to take care of business. Now, I followed him. I know what a biofilm is and everything else. I've got some doubts about the guy's knowledge as far as a microbiologist goes, or a chemist. And I'm not bragging, folks, but I know what I'm talking about. Okay? Now, I do have a bachelor's degree with double majors, chemistry and biology, and I took microbiology at that level. Okay. Then I was so intrigued with microbial processes, metabolism and so forth, the biochemistry thereof, and what they could produce and what they could do in a positive vein. Then I went to graduate school and I earned a master's degree with a major in biochemistry and a second major in microbiology. And then I stayed there and repeated those 2 degrees at the PhD level. And I have had extensive postdoctoral research in microbial biochemistry, and I've had industrial research in microbial biochemistry and other aspects of microbiology and toxicology and biochemistry. Okay? So I think I know what I'm talking about, and I know when I'm getting smoked and smoke screens set up in front of me. Now, I'm not an accountant. I'm learning from Mr. Bennett. I hope I can, at least understand what Dr. Sloan's talking about when they start talking in circles, and then I can go down and understand some of the city budget where we're up to, and one man spoke and said in the next 4 years our streets are going to be up to about $1.8 billion to repair. They're right about $1 billion right now. So, I don't know what it's going to take to get all you taxpayers out there and people that can vote up off your backsides and take care of business. Now, taxpayers are renting around here too. So I'm not saying just the taxpayers that are owning homes. But a lot of people say, well, I rent, I don't pay taxes. Well, who pays the taxes on an apartment, duplex, or fourplex? It is the landlord. And if you don't think they've got the money in there in your rent and so forth to cover the taxes that they pay, then I've got a real hot flash for you. So whether you own your own place, wherever you live, even in a pup tent somewhere, you're paying taxes. So in this coming November, would you please get up off your backsides and go vote and become involved, folks. If stealing your money and having surpluses and misspending this, that, and the other, and misappropriating that doesn't burn you up, then I feel sorry for you. I really do. So all I'd like to do is to get a little justice around this place at one time or another, and the fat cats get fatter, and you guys that are not fat cats like me, then we're getting screwed every day by the tax-paying entities in this town, and this county, and this state, and at the federal level. And I don't mind saying anything about it. So I don't know what to tell you, taxpayers, except you need to get up off your cans and go vote. Now they're winding down on this pretty quickly, and I will give you some updates on not only that, but I found out that $185 million or $185,000 write-offs one time from Del Mar College. $89,000 of that was owed to Del Mar by the Coastal Bend Council of Governments. The Council of Governments finally fessed up through the Attorney General's office that they have no records of why or how they owed Del Mar College that kind of money. Okay? Same thing with Texas A&M University Kingsville. That was $54,000 plus on that particular one, and we, Mr. Bennett and I and several other people, have not been able to figure out how to get the paperwork. They keep saying they don't have any reason for that. The paperwork to justify Del Mar College writing off $54,000. And over the last several years, Del Mar College has written off $2.838 million in bad debts, and can't figure out why. Okay, now some of it is student debt, but we try to get the proof that they tried to completely and diligently tried to collect that money from people, and there's not one shred of evidence in anything I've ever seen that they ever tried to collect a dime of that for you good taxpayers. That's your money. So I'm winding down. I guess it's about 20 seconds here. I appreciate you listening. Don't want to make you uncomfortable or fearful, but what I would like to do is just try to educate you. Okay? And I hope this works. So y'all have a good evening, and come visit us at the Taxpayers Association meetings and join up. Good night.